Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Santomassimo from OGC Solutions, and we power the Think Factory podcast. And I'm excited to introduce a friend of the podcast. This is Jim Myers from Art and Negative Graphics, where he's the executive vice president, and they're down in Lanham, Maryland. So welcome to the podcast, Jim.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Appreciate it.
It's our pleasure to have you. So you and I met at one of the recent industry shows. Would love to just tell people that listen to the podcast what's exciting at Art and Negative, the history. I know you guys are a family business, or if you got multiple family members working the business. But just talk a little bit about the company and what you think is interesting out there.
Yeah. So, Art Negative, as you can tell from the name, we started the business back in 1981. My parents started the business, and we made negatives from artboards back in the day. That's how it was done.
Hmm.
And but we evolved over the years to do commercial printing, mailing, that type wide format, signage, and so forth. So yeah, so it's been an interesting journey, evolving all the time. But we just never changed the name. It was an old sales rep from Xerox. He said, "Well, one good thing is you can remember your name because it's kind of outdated, pretty much." But
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I was like, "Well, if it stays in someone's brain for a while, then that's a good thing." Um, but anyways, yeah. So we just been trucking along, and mainly focusing on direct mail now and signage, mostly internal signage, that kind of thing.
I've said it has to be at least a dozen times on one of these podcast interviews about how exciting the direct mail business is, at least for me, because that is one of the segments of print that really brings together the traditional side of print, so to speak, in terms of putting ink on paper, but the omni-channel communications and all of the technology that goes into variable data printing and actually putting pieces in the mail effectively, to me, is where it all sort of comes together in one place.
Yeah. Well, I think we saw a huge spike after COVID. It just seemed like everybody wanted to do direct mail, probably because people just were exhausted by emails and digital media. And so it was also the challenge of getting paper was a challenge. But well, we saw it, really take off. So we went ahead and just invested a ton of money into it. We partnered up with Screen. They used to be our pre-press provider back in the 80s and 90s. So, but we had lost communications with them because we were, basically we're a Heidelberg shop for a long time. And then when we decided to get into inkjet, the quality that they had was pretty amazing. So we kind of drank the Kool-Aid and moved in that direction. So we bought a Screen roll-to-roll press, inkjet, four color, and then we have another one on order that's coming in August. It's the new 560 HDX. So super excited. We'll be the first ones in the United States that have the install because we're set up as a beta site for them.
So what does the new unit do that's different or better than the prior one?
It has new inks, and the quality is basically it's just like sheet fed quality. It's amazing. So we just feel like that's the direction that we want to go. Um, it opened up other avenues for us because, as you know, in our market, it's very hard to find employees, and nobody seems like coming into the business anymore. So with the new equipment, the automation is amazing. So you can do a lot more with less. And so that really, caught our eye. And so that when we put that in, we had to look into the finishing um, areas too. So we kind of partnered up with Hunkler and Standard for some of our automated finishing. So we have 3 finishing lines with them, and well, there are 2 right now, but we have another one coming in August. So we can go from roll to stack, for like direct mailers, postcards, that kind of thing. And then we can go from roll to saddle stitch for booklets. And then we bought another roll to fold. So we can do any folded direct mailers or any type of folded piece. And
Well, I
then,
think it, well, I think it's interesting about all the investment. It's funny when you talk about screen. I knew them first as the CTP device manufacturer that Agfa and Fuji used. But here they are doing some pretty amazing stuff when it comes to especially printers for the direct mail space.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, they're going gangbusters, actually. They're selling a lot of units. So that's a good sign. Their service has been excellent too. I mean, they've been wonderful. And what's nice about their equipment is that when they put like a huge computer system in, and they can monitor the the screen, on a 520. And so I think they're out in Illinois or something like that. But if something like a nozzle goes out, they get alerted, and they might know before we even know. And so that's kind of a nice monitoring system that they have. And so I've been very happy with their customer service, and you know, their, their service techs, they're top notch. And the same thing goes with Hunkler and Standard. They've been wonderful to work with. Um, and
Yeah, what's interesting is what I'm hearing you say, Jim, is that having the ability to do all of the different variations of the pieces that you see all in one spot, that's got to be a success formula for you with your customers.
Yeah, it's good because it's one stop shopping. And on our mail side, we have 4 Pitney Bow Flowmasters for envelope inserting. So we can print the inserts and all the customized variable data, might be letters or notices, that kind of thing, and then insert on house, and send it to the post office. So
That's all the different formats that where your customers, may want to print a booklet or they might want to print a brochure of some kind as opposed to just, single letters or single pieces. Um, have you seen much interest from customers in terms of, embossing and doing anything intricate when it comes to the touch and feel of mail these days?
Um, we haven't done much of that. I mean, most of the stuff is just, 4-color process. I'm sure everybody's, watching their budgets too. Um, we've noticed that some mail volumes have dropped a little bit, and they're really looking at their data so they can, they might figure out other ways to harness that data to, change their messaging more. So we're seeing a lot of that in our industry.
You see customers focused not only on ROI but also real-time data about how the campaign goes.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, they want more ROI. And what's been good is the percentages of ROI for direct mail is been up compared to the digital. So that's a nice thing. We just got to hope that the post office will stop raising their rates so much. It's
Yeah.
uh,
You can hope, but
yeah,
I think you know what's going to happen.
I know. So that's that's not good for the direct mail, but
Well, you know what I guess it does is it forces folks to be a little more targeted and a little bit more intentional about the data that they use, right?
yeah, definitely, definitely. So, you know, more companies are popping up. They do just specifically that. They're analyzing data, big data, cross-referencing other databases to make enhance the data they have now, like elements that they wouldn't have, um, buying habits, that kind of thing. So, yeah, we're seeing the data part being very intricate now.
Yeah, it's not just a matter of blanketing a particular zip code or a particular town, but rather you want to hit it. You want to hit individual folks in that town based on their buying preferences, right?
Yeah, and honestly, some of these large corporations, they have such a great great data. It's just I'm trying to mine it out of it.
Mm.
Trying to pick different spots and different divisions of their company and say, hey, you got this data over here. How about we take some of that, incorporate it with data you have, like in membership per se, or purchasing or accounting. So there's a lot of things that you can look at to enhance that ROI.
What are you seeing among your customer base when it comes to omni-channel marketing and the convergence of the digital side with the direct mail pieces?
We're seeing a lot of that. Yeah. I mean, some of the agencies that we're doing, they're taking they use us for the direct mail, but they're handling, the front end using QR codes to drive into microsites and capturing, the return on investment. Yeah,
Interesting.
seeing a lot of that.
That's another reason I think that direct mail, besides having a huge ROI as compared to just digital channels, is the ability to create kind of a circular ecosystem where you've got the direct mail piece that goes and encouraging people to engage, and then collecting their information when they do engage, and then sort of redoubling after the fact. It really enhances the staying power of a direct mail campaign because you can really keep that digital campaign going for a period of time after the piece arrives or even before.
Yeah, exactly. And you can, say, hey, you purchased this in the past, you might be interested in this. And driving that,
Well, it's a
and
little bit of this Amazon effect, right?
yeah, exactly, exactly. And I think too, I mean, I know that I do this myself. You get a piece in the mail, you might not be buying that at that particular time, but you hold on to it. And then, like, I know I might need this down the road, but you get something in your email box, what are the chances you're going to save it? You're probably just going to delete it. So I think it has a little bit more staying power. Um, so that's
Well, if nothing else, the printed piece sits in your house for a period of time. And I think if it sits in your house, assuming that you're just not creating a pile of mail, it's probably something that you want to deal with. You just don't want to deal with it today. So you'll
exactly.
get to it. You'll get to it next week, this week, whatever it is, and eventually
Yeah,
get to it.
exactly. Yeah.
You know.
So I mean, we feel like direct mail is going to be around for quite some time, and we're we're putting everything into it.
Well, it sounds like it. I mean, these investments are pretty impressive, I think.
Yeah. So our new press will be delivered in August, so we're really pumped about that.
Yeah, and heading off to Europe to go to the Drupa show to see what else is out there, it sounds like.
Yeah, it'll be our first trip out there. So I've never been there in the past, so it's going to be very interesting. The biggest show in the world, so
Yeah,
so I'm really excited about that. And
no
just
doubt.
seeing what's new coming out, because a lot of the manufacturers are really trying to figure out a way to automate, for the simple fact of the staffing issues.
Yeah, reliability of staffing has definitely been a challenge. But that automation, I, I always think of it as a way to relieve some of the stress when it comes to staffing, but maybe also to elevate people within your organization.
Yeah, most definitely. Um, yeah, and I think too, with the younger generation, y- having seen playing with the technology, it's encouraging to them. They compared to they'll come in and look at a Heidelberg sheet fed press. It takes years to learn how to run that. But then they can step up to some of the like our presses. All digitized. They're not scared of it.
Right.
So I think that's a be something you could use as a selling feature. If anybody's coming out of school, that kind of thing. So hey, look towards the newer technology.
Well,
So
yeah, look, kids like apps, kids like digital stuff, right?
they do, yeah,
You know, I think they also miss the fact that they deal with printed stuff every single day when they're buying products or what have you. So, but yeah, the ability to be cutting edge like you folks are has got to be an attraction to potential candidates.
yeah. We're definitely going to try to promote that in the years to come because
Hmm.
we definitely need a. We have an older workforce. We're trying to get some younger blood in here, and you
Well,
know,
just really to sort of backfill for the retiring folks, right?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, here's the question of the day. What's the recipe for success when you're working with your brother every single day?
I think with that, you bring up a good question because printing there is a ton of family involved, but I think our success is that we play in our lanes. I'm in most of the sales and marketing for the company, and my brother's the COO. He's the operations, so he's dealing with HR issues and working with our management team on scheduling and ordering paper and that kind of thing. And so it's nice to have someone that's family looking over that part of the business, and then I can look over the part of bringing in more work with my sales team. And so yeah, I think that's probably. I think if you're both doing the same thing, I think it could possibly be a issues. I think
Hmm.
that's probably what happens with a lot of family businesses.
Yeah, probably true. When you have a strong relationship to start with, and you're able to deal with each other as adults as opposed to how you were when you were teenagers,
Yeah.
uh, if you can get past that, you're in a much better shape. But the trust factor is important because that really filters down to your relationships in general, and certainly your relationships with customers. If they're trusting you, they're sending you work.
Yeah, and I mean, my brother and I have been working. I mean, we basically worked in the evenings after high school, and you know, I used to drive him in. I used to drive him into work before he even has driver's license. He was working here,
Yeah, wow.
so we've been working together for, geez, I don't know, 30 some years, I'd say.
Well, good for you
Uh,
guys. Good for you guys. Well, that's terrific. So, just lastly, Jim, if you're a customer, either in Maryland or beyond, that's thinking about direct mail, where do you guys play in terms of the mix of your customers, or are you just agnostic to customers in terms of their industries?
well, we kind of our verticals are nonprofit, healthcare, uh, government work, and some state government work, and trying to think what else, and some, I'd say Fortune 5,000 companies. We try to stay. That's pretty much where our focus is.
Hmm.
You know, we try to concentrate on more complicated work. Um, I would say mid to long run. Now, I mean, the one thing going from offset to inkjet, it has opened the doors for much larger jobs.
Well, certainly
So
when it comes to the variable data printing side of things,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we're doing jobs from 10,000 copies all the way into the millions, and so that's really opened up the door, and we foresee that continuing.
Well, with these presses being as independent as they are, you can just set up the data file and let it go, right?
Yeah, and it's printing almost 500 feet per minute. It's crazy. And the color consistency is there. It stays consistent because it has monitoring systems on there for color. So it's a lot of cool stuff.
Well, anybody who likes to see how things are made ought to see a plant like yours. I mean, it's amazing to watch. Like you say, the precision and the consistency and the colors and just how it all happens is pretty amazing to watch. The
Yeah,
speed is unbelievable.
yeah. I'm looking forward to you coming down for the plant tour.
I
Looking for the
can't wait.
goal.
Really looking forward to it. So,
Yeah,
well, Jim, thanks a lot so much for introducing us to art and negative graphics today.
no
Sounds like you
problem,
guys have
Chris.
a recipe for success, thanks to some good family cooperation and relationship, as well as some really good investments too.
Yeah, I appreciate your time, Chris. It's great.
Well, just to refresh, this has been Jim Myers. He's the executive vice president for art and negative graphics down in Lanham, Maryland. Jim, thanks so much for jumping on the podcast today.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
It's been great. And just signing off, this is Chris Santomassimo from OGC Solutions. We support and power the Think Factory podcast. We'll see you next time.